The following video is not for fillies or young colts. Viewer discretion is advised.
Back before I discovered the show or anything, I didn't hate it. I was kind of indifferent towards it. But my friend, who was a brony, kept bugging me to watch the pilot. And after so long, I got annoyed with it. So I told guess what number I was thinking out of 1 through 10. I watched the pilot, and he guessed it. It was right.
Now you stuck with your word.
My brony story goes, I knew about Laura? I don't even know how to say her name right
Lauren
now.
Foss?
Yeah. I knew about her jumping on the project because I usually follow artists and things like that. I knew about her doing this Friendship is Magic thing, so I did some background history on the original show. So I was a little, like, skeptical at first because it was a reboot. And then I
original show
forgot about it. Yeah, I actually watched one scene. It was terrible. But one day, I was over at my buddy Hero's. He was still asleep, and it was like 5 in the morning. I'm thinking to myself, I have nothing to do. Hey, I got an idea. I'm going to record myself watching the first episode of My Little Pony. Not even 5 minutes in, I stopped talking and just watched the entire episode. And then I watched the next and the next and the next. It just automatically hooked me. Twilight, man. Tara Strong. Her voice is just Tara.
I think the one pony that got me was Fluttershy.
She was my favorite at first.
Pony.
She was my favorite at first, but season 2 has bumped her down a rank, and Twilight has taken the reins as my favorite pony.
I don't know about that, because like Fluttershy has always been my favorite, especially when she went badass against that dragon.
But lesson 0. Hi, girls.
Dude, yes, best.
Yes, that was a little weird, but then the grin immediately afterwards, where she's like, "You want to play the quiet game? I'm the world champ." And then the grin was just like, yeah, I'm back.
Squee.
Yeah, like I said, for a long time I was a big Fluttershy fan because she was ridiculously adorable. I mean, she sold me when she first introduced herself with her hair.
Ridiculous.
Joe had just got. Well, she's like in my top 3. It goes Twilight, Fluttershy, and actually Pinkie Pie just outdid Rarity. Rarity was above Pinkie.
All in the show, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, Terrence is voiced by Tara Strong, who is Violet Sparkle's unicorn.
Violet Sparkle, she's Raven, she's Timmy Turner.
Yep.
She does a lot of voices. She's Bubbles, and that's an old school one for me. Yeah. Put your fillies to bed. It's time for midnight night stream clock fake reading.
That was an awfully long disclaimer.
Yeah, I kind of botched it halfway there. Put your fillies to bed. It's time for the night stream flop pick. Go eat a moon. Go eat a moon.
Don't make me destroy this planet.
Oh, bring it. Watch moon inside.
Arc the Kiwi, you have 1 minute. One day in the magical land of Westeria, the sun was shining brightly on Sweet Apple Acres. Applejack was sitting in the cool shade of the apple trees, with her hat hanging over her face to sneak a mid-afternoon nap, her chest rising and falling slowly as she dreamed of the Zap apple jam and cider. Big Mac was trotting along, pulling a fresh cart of apples. The sweet smell of freshly baked apple pie was filling the air. Pony Joe was walking down the dirt path drawn by the sweet smells of apple pie. Pony Joe always gets very excited when he smells the voluptuous scent of apple pie. Pony Joe hasn't gotten any in the past few days, so he's eager to see who he could bang. As was it Pony Joe's lucky day, because right under the tree was a passed-out pony. Now at this point, Joe was so horny he couldn't help but stare at her nice, tight plot hole. Joe had all kinds of dirty thoughts whizzing around his head, still staring into that plot hole. Thinking of how tight it was and how it would feel to push his long, hard cock into it. Now, just as Joe was about to make his move, Big Mac snuck up from behind and caught Pony Joe staring into his tight plot hole.
Oh, God.
All sorts of naughty thoughts were forcing their way into Big Mac's head. One of which was the thought of joining Joe and fucking his little sister, IU. Meanwhile, I could be any pony who was writing down all these happenings from the tree branches above. Just then, Joe grew so hard that he thought his dick would explode. He didn't care anymore. He just had to do something. So he galloped over to the sleeping mare and started thrusting. Just about that time, Ivy trotted past by, taken aback by how hard Pony Joe was fucking the now howling Applejack.
Oh, God.
He became enraged by the sight that was Big Mac then thrust himself into Pony Joe's tight plot hole.
Oh God. No.
So, Ivy picked up a cactus and slammed it into Pony Joe's mouth. Now, Pony Joe has these odd fetishes. One of his biggest being cacti. So you could imagine his pleasure now that one was being thrown into the mix. Now, overhearing all this ruckus piqued John Madden's interest. John Madden came running over and yelled, "It's not rape if you yell football!" Pushing himself into Ivy. Pony Joe doesn't mind, of course. One reason being he is currently fucking AJ's pussy. The second being that the fact that no pony fucks with John Madden. Just about now, Snake jumps into a jamboree of dicks and plot holes and rams his throbbing giggle stick into John Madden's plot hole. IU. Now this goes on for a good half hour. But then John Madden's erect man carrot unloads a large steaming load of football-shaped jizz on the back of Ivy. This caught Ivy by surprise, as she was moaning in pleasure as the hot load was pouring into her now loose plot hole.
Oh God.
Ivy is so overcome with joy, she accidentally forced the cactus further down Joe's thought. This excited Pony Joe beyond belief, making him release the floodgates of hot, pouring semen over every pony, making them all have a simultaneous orgasm. It was so powerful that it ended up killing Snake. Then John Madden yelled, "Snake? Snake? Snarky!" But then the space miner started yelling, "Ayu! Ayu! 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 Ayu!" I Could Be Any Pony was laughing so hard he fell out of the tree. And that's how Equestria was made. Journal entry by I Could Be Any Pony.
Oh my God, what the fuck?
That was certainly something.
I'm scarred for life.
I already called Pony Joe for the next one, so...
Oh my
So
God.
am I just narrating majority of this, or am I doing Ivy as well?
You're doing Ivy, I'll be narrating and doing Pony Joe.
Alright, well just tell me, well how would I know on my Ivy parts?
Just read along.
Oh, read it. Okay.
Or lie.
Kiwi Fig, don't hate me, you asked for it. The Gazing Moon. The moon poked its gaze out from behind the clouds, illumining the smooth and supple goosebumps sprouting into place as Pony Joe sensually caressed Ivy's back. The nape of her neck never looked so appetizing. Joe craned his head up to Ivy's ear, her hair tickling his muzzle as his breath carried his most inner desires to her. Ivy. The simple mention of her name was enough to draw out a small moan from Ivy.
Okay.
She Alright, come on. I gotta read this, I promised I would. Alright, she shifted in place, turning to meet Joe's gaze. They looked deep into each other's eyes, losing themselves in the reflected light of the moon. Ivy closed her eyes, inviting Joe in for a kiss. Joe closed the distance and locked lips. The warm, moist breath from inside of Ivy's mouth revealed just a hint of final frontier. Their tongues danced together in a sloppy symphony of heated passion, their clumping hot air into each other's faces as the kiss drew on. Joe pulled back from the kiss, a long streaming band of saliva still lingering, tying them together for just a few moments longer. The room was still, a scene of complete serenity where the two star-crossed lovers began to explore each other's presence. Ivy's bright eyes shivered with anticipation. Nothing else existed except the mare in front of him. Ivy's sweet smile began to shift to one mischief as her horn began to alight. Joe's eyes widened and he withdrew a bit as a warm, tingly sensation began to creep its way down between his legs. Joe panted, rolling his eyes back into his head in pure pleasure as Ivy began to work her magic. Oh yes, Ivy. Please don't stop. Ivy simply smiled a little wider as she kicked up her magic and began to work overtime. The quiet in the room was now slightly invaded by the sound of sticky pleasure. Joe began to quake as his body reacted to the quickening pace. Just as he began to cringe and bite his lip, the sensation subsided. Joe, opening his eyes, looked back down upon Ivy to see her giving him a disappointed look.
Not so fast, Joe. We aren't in any rush. Care to return the favor?
Joe simply stared at her as if completely missing the hint. She began to shuffle a little further up the bed, propping her back upon a stack of pillows. Joe began to understand and his gaze fell a little south. passing the image of a lone leaf and settling on the nether regions of his significant other. It was the final frontier. Joe threw his muzzle in, not holding an ounce of himself back. All of his enthusiasm played out in his tongue as he crested at the hills and passed the valleys. Ivy moaned, her head craning back in pleasure. She reached out and grabbed Joe's hair, running her hooves through the fine golden waves. She began to toss about, lifting her flanks in the air as Joe continued his assault.
Joe, wait!
Ivy was gasping now, panting furiously and losing complete control of her body. Joe didn't let one bit and pressed on, somehow harder than before.
Joe! 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 God, yes!
Joe's eyes focused upwards to witness the full fruits of his labor. Ivy threw back her arms, clenching the sheets, her muscles tightening. Her mouth fell open in a silent scream of pure pleasure. Joe silently felt his muscle get soaked as Ivy collapsed back onto the bed, panting in defeat. That wasn't... Oh, wait, that's you.
That wasn't fair, Joe. I let up on you. Now it's my turn to get even.
I like how it goes from, like, Ivy to, like, Hulk Hogan, almost sounding.
Oh, yeah, you're gonna get raped.
Joe's cocky smirk was there's that word again, cocky. It was instantly shattered as he felt himself get lifted into the air. Ivy was getting to her hooves with a look of extreme determination. She held him up so his waist was head height. The perfect access to the full control. Joe was growing tense, and it was reflected in the pulse. Ivy eyed Joe's member, moving in close, and whispered to it soft,
"Hello."
Oh Christ, visuals, get the fuck out of here now. Go, 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 go.
Too late, you're imagining it.
God,
Football!
The warmth of her breath made Joe cringe. Little Joe beginning to wave in response.
Wait, is that you or me?
That's you.
Well, some pony looks like they're happy to see me.
Ivy stared up at Joe. A pathetic and completely helpless look was all she found. She began to work, throwing herself straight into the deep end, her tongue riding the contours and wrapping the ridges as she rode the swells. Holy crap, there's a lot of R's in that damn sentence. The combination of the complete lack of control and Ivy's expertise put Joe in a really tight situation. Incredibly quick. He tensed up, body cringing. The coursing sensation of hot pressure running through him exploded in a climax that was muffled by the sound of Ives gagging out a muffled breath and then openly clapping to the side. Joe was instantly released from the magic grip and collapsed on the floor.
Well, hang on, they're changing the line.
They're editing it, hang on.
They're editing it as you're reading it.
In reading, editing.
Ivy's line was edited as I was reading it.
There you go, read it.
Okay. A little warning next time, okay, Joe?
Joe laughed a little and then got to his feet. Rape! Rape! They embraced
Football!
the forming image. Ivy smiling widely. The light began to pan out, drawing away from the windows. The moon shifted its gaze and began to hide behind the clouds. Luna sat behind the clouds, eyes agape at what she had just witnessed. Pray tell, dear sister, to what end has this little peep show supposed to achieve? Celestia looked over at her younger sister, lips curled behind her teeth in a giddy smile.
I do say, it's been too long, dear sister. I thought you would enjoy the show.
Fuck you, I do what I want, this Spider-Man. Next time, yell football, you bad bro. You. Football! Football! Oh god, there's another one.
That just
There's
gets
another
easy,
one.
quick, man.
Joe and I, the first encounter.
I am
What?
not... Alright, we gotta save this one for next time, and that's it for the Cloptic readings.
Oh.
Save us all.
Did you guys enjoy the sound effects?
Individuals,
Oh my
why did you
God.
not leave when you had the chance?
Yeah, of course
Right.
visuals get
He knew what he was
right?
getting into.
And then... What is this? I think this is Hellhoof's reaction. Yeah, this is just a perfect reaction.
I'm scared to click any link now on a night
No,
stream.
no, no. Hellhoof's is
I'm
fine.
afraid to click thank you link during the late night stream.
That expression is priceless.
Oh god.